All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to thank each of you for being here today and welcome to our webinar. We're excited to be able to demo a little bit of control and have Jeff from the Colorspot here with us to kind of give this presentation specifically to the RSA group. We know we're all super busy and we're carving out some time in our afternoons, so we want to keep this short and definitely want to be mindful of your time. So thank you again for joining us. A few housekeeping items. We're going to start off with, like I said, Jeff Walsh from the Colorspot. He is a fellow RSA member and also a current control user. So we've asked him to join us and tell us a little bit about his business and then also how they utilize control and kind of some of the reasons they decided to implement it and speak about his daily life using control. And then we also have Dean Sharp, who's our sales manager here at Sirius. He will give us a brief demo, and we'll go in and look at control and from an estimating standpoint and some of the other top features that other RSA members and customers of ours really utilize every day and has made a big impact in their business. So I'm going to put everybody on mute so that there's no background noise and feedback, and so we can really hear who presenter's talking. We can minimize some of that distraction. And then at the end, we'll open up the lines for question and answer session. You can ask Dean a question, or Jeff, if he's got time to stick around, and if you'd like to pose a question to him, we'll turn it over to him. So given that, I would like to turn it over to Jeff, and if he can just kind of tell us a little bit about his experience with control.
Appreciate it, Kristen. As you know, I'm not exactly sure how many people on the call or who's familiar with the Colorspot, but Colorspot started back in 2003 as a color division of Repro Products, which I'm assuming, being an RSA member, you're probably familiar with that. I've been a control user, I guess, going on about 8 years now, set up multiple systems, and it's probably been one of the most important decisions I made as far as in business in this particular industry to utilize control in Sirius and set up properly, which the team at Sirius is very helpful in doing that. But it's allowed us to, and the easiest way to say it is know where we're at all times, which is a little easier said than done sometimes. But when you're able to quickly generate an estimate for your customer and know exactly what your margins are before you ever send it, and know exactly where you can and can't go with that estimate when you send it out is pretty key. Knowing your profit margins is obviously very key in business. And with the economy and the competition in the industry, it's a leg up to us to know the numbers. So the main thing that we get from it is the ease of use in doing that for the entire team. We probably have 15 to 20 people in and out of Sirius every day quoting jobs, and everybody can quote and give the same number, and nobody has to look at it and check on it. We know that it's right going out the door, and we know it's going to be right going in production, and we can track that job all the way through production. So there's a lot of features that are very helpful, and I'm definitely going to stick around for the question and answer part. But if anybody has any specific questions on applying certain features to your business, or you'll see the Dean's getting ready to do a small demonstration that might generate some questions as well. But the main thing is the money and keeping up with it and knowing where your margins are and the ease of use. So that's what's top on my list at Sirius, and that's why I've been using it for so long, and I recommend it to pretty much everybody who ask about any type of workflow management software in this industry. So I think it's a vital key to success in what we do every day.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing a little bit about that and being able to stick around towards the end for questions. Well, now I'd like to turn it over to Dean, if you're ready to take us into control, and I'll go ahead and make you the presenter.
Absolutely. You should be able to see my screen now, if you can just confirm that, Kristen.
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. By the way, Dean here at Sirius, and I'm an old timer with Sirius. Been here for 14 years, and appreciate the opportunity to present Sirius to you. And Jeff, back to you. Yeah, thanks for sharing your experience there. It's important for people to understand that it's a good product. It is designed for the industry specifically, and you have a team behind you on this side to help you set it up and configure it, and we'll be there for you when you need us, if you need us. So what I'm going to do here is really just take a handful of minutes. We want to keep this short. If there's any additional questions after the meeting or the presentation, you want to have some one-on-one time to ask me specific questions or even see a demo specific to your operation, I'd love the opportunity to chat with you, and we'll provide some numbers at the end of the presentation. So first things first, as Jeff was mentioning, knowing your margins. Sirius is a big component of estimating. We have a really powerful tool that allows you to see your margins as you estimate. So I'm going to go into a new estimating window, and I'm going to open up what we call the wide format print product, which is basically a product from your color division, if you will. And the wide format is more of a roll print. So this is assuming we're printing on the roll printer. We also have the products to help capture the estimating for our flatbed prints as well. But this is a product that comes with the system when you purchase it. So it's a matter of, how many is the customer looking for? So let's say they want 20 prints, and we'll say these are, let's say 20 by 32 inches as an example. And then we'll print this on what type of machine. And we like to know the machine, based on the specs of that machine, to know what your ink costs are, as well as how long it's going to take to run that job. And then it's a matter of picking the material type that you're going to be printing on. Or is this going to be a banner? Are we printing this to vinyl, paper, so on down the list. So if we are to pick vinyl material, we'll then get a list of the vinyl options. Now all of this data here is user definable. So when you get the system in the same way Jeff did, you'll set up your materials that you offer. You can, of course, add materials, remove materials, rename materials along the way as well. In this example, let's just pick a calendared vinyl. And then if we were to laminate this, we could. You can just go down and pick your lamination type. Is it liquid or cold? Cold in most cases. And then, of course, you'll get your list of lambs. And then what would that be? What material would you use? And I'll just pick one here from the list. And we'll drop down to the next field, which is your mounting substrate. Assuming we were going to mount this, you can then pick all of, from a list of your rigid medias. Is it acrylic, aluminum, Coro, foam board? And we'll pick Coro as the example. And then you get a list of your Coro options. And let's say we're going to mount this on a 4x8 sheet, and then we have to cut these when we're done. So again, we're going to want to know your cutter, and we're going to want to know the specs off of that cutter so we can estimate how long it will take. And how we do that is really simple. From a cutting standpoint, you pick your cutting method, and then there's a complexity factor. And that complexity really looks at the perimeter of the 20 by 32 variable that we give it, and then you can add the complexity factor to it, which is really just a multiplier. And then, of course, it calculates about how long it will take to cut this particular job. So overall, we have a 20 by 32 print, and I'm looking at the right side of the panel here. It's going to tell us that we're printing at 88 squares. We're going to waste 31 squares, so we'll need 26 linear foot off of the roll. And we're going to need 4 sheets of material because we're going to get 6 images per 4x8 sheet. So the software quickly calculates utilization of the sheet as well as the roll to understand what your print area is as well as your waste. Now, that ties directly into your margin. And it's what we call parts. And the parts are really the bill of materials that build up the finished good. And it includes equipment, labor, and material. So you have your equipment, your labor, and your material, everything from your laminator, your printer, your labor associated with those, from cutting to the printing it, to the laminating it, and then your material, which is your ink, your calendared vinyl, your lam, your rigid media, and then how much do you pay for those particular components. And then there are your costs right there. So over here to the left, we get a summary of that, of what your total cost will be, what your sell price is, giving you your estimated margin. Now again, all of this is user definable, meaning you're going to enter in your own materials, your own cost, your own multipliers. What here is just for demonstration purposes and will come with the system when you purchase it, but you're going to want to massage those numbers to match your market. Now, one other thing, too, is if you are tracking inventory, you will see an available column over here. So we can quickly look, even when we're estimating, to see that we have 40 sheets of this Coro available. And again, as this job is going to be consumed, it'll remove these 4 sheets, giving us 36 sheets the next time we estimate. So I'm just going to go back to the main screen here. And if there is any finishing details that we need to add to this, that's generally on your finishing tab. So if we needed to pop some grommets in the top corners or put a trim cap, adhesive backings, drill holes, round corners, here is where that information will be filled in. You also have the ability to capture the design, the shipping, the installation. Customer wants a price on 20, 60, 100. You can then load in what we call the quantity grid and load up multiple quantities to display the price to your customer. I'm just going to click OK and focus on one other, is what we call the flatbed print. So if you're printing on your flatbed, it's pretty much the same screen as the roll, except the roll media is gone. So we're going to do 1,000 pieces that are 6 inches by 9.5 inches. We're going to print that on whatever your flatbed is, and we're going to print this direct to a foam board as an example. So we'll get a list of those, and we'll pick a 3/16 white. And then we come up with a price per piece, and we're going to print that on whatever your flatbed is, and we're going to print this direct to a foam board as an example. So we'll get a list of those, and we'll pick a 3/16 white. And then we come up with a price per piece, and then a total. And of course, we can look at the layout info and see that we need 13 sheets of material for these prints. So let me click OK. And I'm just going to quickly throw in a company up above. And we'll give it a description. And what we could do is either save this as an estimate or save it as an order, depending on what the customer is requesting. So if we save it as an estimate, it'll then be saved in the system with the unique number, 1590. In this case, it is pending. We could print this and fire it directly to the customer, or we can have it automated emailed to the customer. But in this case, let's say the estimate went out, the customer came back and said, yes, we want to proceed with it. So knowing where the job is and to get a work order quickly, all you have to do is click the convert button over to the right. Are you sure you want to convert it? We're going to tell it yes. And it will move this particular project into what we call a WIP, which is a work in progress. From here, we can produce a work order. And the work order has a lot more detail than the customer will ever see. And I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit. So you can see on your roll print here, it's going to give you the mounting details, the laminating details, all the layout structure as well. So we could print this and put it in the job jacket. Back over at the WIP, you'll see that it labeled it as in design. These are what we call stations. Stations are user definable, so it's kind of like, what is your workflow? Things go into design, they go into print, they go into finishing, they go into quality control. So your stations will be set up to match your current workflow, which leads me to this panel here, which is what we call a production dashboard. Again, all user definable. This is an example, but here are all the projects that are in design. Here are the ones that are in print, in finishing, in QC. These need to be delivered to the customer. These need to be shipped. And what happens if it's in design and the job needs to go to the next department, then what you can do is just simply right-click on it, and then you can change it to the next station. Now what you have to keep in mind, what you see here on the screen is more of kind of a management style dashboard. So it's kind of showing my entire workflow for my demo account business, if you will. But these are all user definable. If I'm a designer, I could care less about what's being shipped or what's being delivered to the customer. So I'm going to have my dashboard panel set up just to match the things that I need to see or that I need to do. So again, completely user definable. Once the job is finished with production, it'll then move into what we call a status of built. So it's completed with production, and this is an important step to get it off your WIP list, your work in progress listing. You will move it into a built status, and then what needs to happen to it? Do we need to ship it? Do we need to deliver it? Do we need to install it? So on down the list. So if the customer is going to pick it up, we'll just drop it into that picked up status. And then again, it'll show up on generally another dashboard that will show you all the jobs that need to be picked up. Now, one of the things that Sirius has that's really nice and our customers like is what we call automation. So when we move it into a specific station, the software can automatically trigger an event. So in this case, we moved it into the to be picked up stage. It'll just automatically fire an email to your customer letting them know that their job is ready to be picked up. Or if it's shipped, we can do the same thing. It can automate an email to the customer letting them know that it's been shipped. Once they receive the product, it's out your doors. It's then officially what we call a sale. And then you will move it into a sale category and that it had been picked up. And then really at this point in time, it's considered what we call an invoice. So the customer now receives an invoice with this particular project. And then again, you can email this, you can print it, hand it to them, however you need to get the invoice to them. Going back to the dashboard here for a minute, it isn't uncommon for me to see nowadays, especially with the cost of TVs going down, a lot of companies have what we call a whiteboard or a pegboard on their wall with all the job jackets and so forth, that a 40-inch or 50-inch TV will actually kind of replace that with a dashboard similar to this. So it's electronic, it's real time. As the jobs move, the screen is updated, automated. It's all tied together. And companies can walk, anyone in the company can walk up to it, they can double click on it, they can open it up, get the details, they can print the work order from here, they can do pretty much anything they need to do from that one screen. So it's a good replacement of the whiteboard to move more to an electronic type system. All right, so that's a quick summary overview of the software from an estimating, through the work order to the invoicing stage. So I'm going to pause right there, and Kristen, if you want to unmute, and we can take some Q&A.
What does it cost?
What does it cost will really depend on the size of the operation. We have a couple different options. We have a subscription-based scenario where you can pay monthly to run the software, or we have an option to buy it outright. And it really just depends. Are you looking at a single user or a multi-user scenario? So a monthly subscription could run you as little as $99 a month. A purchase option could run you as little as $2,300 a month. But it's going to go up from there depending on the size of your operation.
Is anyone using this with like their digital printing and their black and white plans and spec stuff, or are they just pretty much doing the color stuff, or is there a mixture of it? Or
great question. They're actually using it for both, and it's kind of a mixture too. And I do see some companies out there use Sirius just for their color division, and then they use their current system or the system they were previously using. They'll continue to use that in the reprographics world. But we do handle both. So let me drop into a new estimate here, and you will see a reprographics category. And basically, we can just load up the reprographics product. And here is the entry screen for entering anything reprographics, anything from scanning, binding the edges, how many sets, how many originals, the height and width. It's going to be 24 by 36. Again, just fill in the variables. What machine would we run that on? Say it's the TDS 700. Is it black and white, color, photographic? And then, of course, your different material types, which is the three common here. And again, all this is user definable, but what you see comes with the system. And then, of course, you just pick your, engineering 20-pound bond if that's what you're going to use, and based on the number of sets, 10 sets from 12 originals as an example, and it will spit out your price. So the short answer is we have a lot of companies using the software for the reprographic side, their black and white side, as well as their wide format. And then we have some who choose to continue to use their older system.
what about the accounting software side of it? In other words, we have a different accounting package that we use. Does this work with it, or we use Mass 90?
It will. We actually have an export routine, and Jeff may can help answer some of this from his user standpoint. But let me explain the two options that we have. Sirius exports the financial data to a third-party system, be it simply Peachtree, Mass, MYOB. You'll notice a miscellaneous export, if you will, or generic, which is really what will go to Mass, any of the Mass products, Mass 90, Mass 200. Or we could take that on, meaning we could be a replacement for that, and you can do your entire banking through Sirius. So you can do all of your bank deposits, run your P&Ls, handle all of your payables. Jeff, you want to explain how you guys do it?
Yeah, we export out in the QuickBooks, and we obviously hold all our payables and expenses out on the QuickBooks side, and it's called a closeout. We dump revenues in on a monthly basis on a closeout, and that's how we do it. It takes about 2 minutes, if that, and it keeps it easy. I mean, I don't know how many people use the accounting for Sirius. It's certainly usable, but most people, by the time they get Sirius, already have some type of accounting in place, unless they're just happen to be starting business on the exact same day. So, a lot of people that I know, they export out into whatever they're currently using, before they get Sirius or when they get Sirius. So that's the way we do it. It works great for us. So.
Yeah, great assessment, Jeff, and that is a fact. Most of the companies do export their data out and do not run the full accounting package through Sirius. Part of that is because the full accounting has only been out for 5 or 6 years, and the other is because most people want to keep their current accounting system. So in most cases, we will export the data to a third-party system.
Okay, thanks.
Well, great. Well, hopefully we answered all your questions. And again, we wanted to keep it kind of short and simple, and have the opportunity, if you needed to learn more or interested in learning more, spending a little more time in the demo, or asking me some questions directly, that we want to make sure we send you that contact details so you can reach out to us and schedule a live one-on-one session or just some personal one-on-one Q&A. Okay, Kristen or Jeff, is there anything else you want to add to the group while they're all here?
Not really, just that if anybody has any questions after the fact that they think of that they have for me, I'm certainly available to contact, after the fact to
Okay, we appreciate that.
I have. And Kristen can get my information out there by on the call or however you want to do that. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, thank you.
All right, Kristen, we'll turn it back over to you and let you wrap it up.
Awesome. Jeff, thank you so much again. Dean, thank you as well for taking us into control. Thank you to the RSA members that are on the call and who joined us. And this will be, we did record this session and we'll post it, and it'll likely be up on our website in about a week, probably early next week. So I'll send out an email in case there's anything you wanted to go back and check out. And like Dean said, if there is, you want to get a little bit, ask some more questions particular to your business or take a deeper look, please feel free to call us and we'll set up a demo and get you set up. So I don't have anything else, and I hope you all have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.